As we delve into our first match of the day here in the lower bracket, we're going to start in the bottom left-hand corner with the blue Protoss player, who is, of course, representing the Shopify Rebellion. This is Harstem.
What a season it's been for the captain already. Top 6 is amazing, but of course if you're this close, you want more. He's gonna have to get past this guy. Yesterday he could not get it done in the upper bracket semifinals against MaxPax, but MaxPax's PvT is something special. This man has traditionally been incredibly good in this matchup. So excited to see what kind of builds he's going to bring to this incredibly important best of 5. Representing Mouse Sports, it's HeRoMaRinE.
It is such a challenge to go up against HeRoMaRinE in a series like this, where he's had a little bit of preparation time. He's, had the morning to think of some builds, what he's going to do on each map. This is, in my eyes, the toughest kind of HeRoMaRinE to beat, and one of the toughest matchups to beat him in. So if Harstem was able to pull this off, well, what a well-deserved top 4 that would be. That would be pretty darn incredible in my eyes already.
Yeah, I feel like he's done it before once, right? Where he was in the upper bracket quarterfinals and he had an absolute nail-biter of a series against Gabe, and I believe he won it back then, and everybody went crazy. But yeah, it's been an incredibly good run already for Harstem. No matter how good he looked yesterday in the PvP, he's gonna need something a bit different. What's also incredibly scary when you go up against Gabe is that Gabe, even though he talks a lot, Water, you know all about it, you watch his stream every now and then, Gabe is a very opinionated man, and some of the things he says on his stream you can take with a grain of salt. But if Gabe feels confident, I feel like he just becomes a whole lot better. And in his mind, I'm sure that he looks at this series and he knows it's going to be tough, but Gabe is going to be confident. And a confident Gabe is so much better than a Gabe who thinks he's going to lose, so he's going to do some weirdest stuff.
Yeah, confidence is something he feeds off of, because then he really knows, hey, I can hit this time, and oh, I can do this. And then he just looks so solid in those timing attacks, in those windows in which he can get in, siege up, deal damage. That is where HeRoMaRinE sometimes plays his peak TVP, as the first Reaper comes across the map. And scouting will begin here on Post Youth. It's just a little bit of a funky map because you got this in-base expand, but this shouldn't be too difficult for both players to confirm. As the Twilight Council coming down, that's a confirmation for HeRoMaRinE as well, as Harstem's first tech of the game is seen by this Reaper. Got a lot of shots on the probes, but the Adept is there to zone this away.
Yeah, that's actually nice, obviously, for Gabe to know that he's playing against Twilight. This is a map where a lot of Protoss players like to play Stargate, and the builds that you would like to do against Twilight are very often not the builds that you want to go against if your opponent opens up Phoenix, and Harstem is absolutely no stranger of the Phoenix opening. Very quick third CC by HeRoMaRinE, as he has 2 more barracks coming online as well. Kind of like it, because if I think of Harstem, the last thing I ever think of is a 4-gate Blink Stalker enjoyer, right? Harstem is a macro animal. He likes to just stabilize, sit back, play it somewhat safe. He's an incredibly good late-game player, but just because Gabe is opening up here with triple CC, that doesn't mean we're going to see late game. That just means that Gabe is going to try to be a very greedy boy, and I kind of like the build order choice here, because I think he's going to get away with it, because Harstem is not that aggressive traditionally in this matchup.
When I think of Harstem's TVP, I think, the guy that's very happy if he can get the extra Stargates up and start getting into carriers and then dragging the game to 20 minutes or so. So I'm with you. I think this is not a situation where you're looking likely to get punished. So, cool choice by Gabe. If he does get away with it, Stimpack coming up from him. The racks behind it, of course, makes it even more vulnerable to certain attacks, because you don't have any factory support to try and help you defend. Since this Reaper does get cleaned up, but yeah, Harstem just sitting back, dropping the third base on the gold, though, so that's something, but that's still going to be vulnerable if HeRoMaRinE does ramp up the pressure once that Stimpack and other upgrades are done.
I haven't actually seen this yet, like full wall off, and then you somehow mine out the minerals, and then you take the gold. Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned, because by the time that I think Harstem can truly enjoy the rich mineral life of that gold base, Gabe is already going to have so much firepower, a ridiculous amount of Marines, a ridiculous amount of Marauders. I have the feeling that if you play like Harstem is currently playing, you would much rather go up against a single mine or a double mine drop, right? And even if you lose a couple workers, that's fine, because then you're going to saturate the gold and you'll be flying. The idea of Gabe just having 20 plus Marines, couple of Marauders with Stim early on, and then having your third base so exposed, so wide open, it's gonna be so difficult for Harstem to defend that, and then obviously also stay safe against double drops or even triple drops into his natural ore main.
It's going to be really, really tough, as Yeah, I mean, we got the couple stalkers applying pressure here, but even that doesn't quite reveal what's up. The SCV is starting to mine out those minerals on the left, as you can see, just to open up this position. We're going to see how much fire there is now. Yeah, there is a lot of it. And of course, because it's that forward gold, these units are going to get across very quickly as we get one adept eye. Going to get a little bit of info, though not much else to be gained at this point as the bio comes chasing. And these couple stalkers are running. Harstem needs to get an army up and running now, but he really has nothing ready.
Oh my god, he's got 8 stalkers, 9 stalkers right now, but if these Marines and Marauders stim forward, such a difficult fight. No matter how good your Blink Stalker micro is, the only thing that Harstem can really do here is run. That is what he's going to do. He's going to bleed out a few stalkers, and I think it's safe to say that Big Gabriel of Mousesports is already absolutely flying. Harstem, you're going to have to give up on this Nexus. I think he knows that. He's just trying to get as many freebies as possible. Gun goes down, Observer will fall too. Gabe behind this, by the way, already dropped barracks number 4 and 5, and Game 1, it really does feel like it's just all Big Gabe. Kind of feels with Harstem gambled, said, I'm going to assume you open up with a quick factory, quick starport, you go for something like a Widowmine drop, or maybe a Hellion into Widowmines, and then Raven and Res. All of that stuff I think Harstem's world could deal with perfectly fine. This many Marines and Marauders, I mean, even if you say you should have a shield battery, like where? You know, like you're going to have 17 shield batteries to keep yourself safe across these 3 different bases.
Yeah, it would have been very difficult just across the board. And because this was that 3cc, it's so rough because now you've given up a base, but you couldn't really afford to give up the base as well because HeRoMaRiNE's economy is booming behind this. He's 61 SCVs, mining off 3 bases now. And obviously, we back it up with these units. A little bit hurt, but it's further upgrades finishing from HeRoMaRiNE. He'll get additional tech online, such as Medivacs. And that alone is just going to create such a problem as we actually got Ghost Academy too. So, but just adding on answers to everything that Harstem has from an economic lead, it's looking very, very good for HeRoMaRiNE. And we start up Colossus production, but I find it difficult to believe we're going to see Colossus be a realistic factor in this game before Harstem just gets swept to the side.
Yeah, because even if the Colossus powered by a battery and a cannon can hold the gold this time around, you're going to be so vulnerable in your main or in your natural. And there are still a ridiculous amount of Marauders left, even though Harstem did a good job gunning down a couple of those Marauders earlier. Harstem may think about taking the fight this time around, but he needs that Colossus. He doesn't have it yet. The Marines and the Marauders pack a punch once more. Battery goes down, the Immortal falls. Harstem will get a decent amount of buy units this time around. But this wasn't the worst fight at all for Harstem. But after that start, Harstem needs a whole lot more than not the worst fight. Harstem basically needed a clean sweep, right? And then we're back into it. And this was a bit of a trade, and trades are going to favor HeRoMaRiNE.
Yeah, it's a trade where HeRoMaRiNE's just going to have units on the follow-up, and once those units get across, it's again going to be an issue for Harstem, who is... I mean, even with the Colossus he has, he doesn't have range, so it's likely going to be fairly exposed as HeRoMaRiNE will figure out how he wants to fight on the back of this gold base. That's just going to lift up and go elsewhere, because Harstem doesn't have the units to play the split up and defend everywhere situation. And of course, the time is ticking until Ghosts are on the field as well, which makes HeRoMaRiNE's army even stronger. One Colossus flies into this main base. There's a cannon here as well, and with the positioning, it might actually be somewhat okay as we get rid of the cannon. A few probes will begin to drop. This is actually a good defense from Harstem, probably the best he could have asked for.
Yeah, I cannot believe that he barely lost anything there. Like, that should have gone so much worse. Gabe maybe shooting at too many different targets at once and really worried about that cannon and the battery, but Harstem still down 42 supply. And if a Protoss is down 42 supply, you've got double Robo, you've got extended thermal lens, you've got great upgrades on your forges, and a bunch of observers, maybe, right? But Harstem is working with a single observer. Does have 2 Colossus now, 3rd one is on the way. Tiny chance, but things are still looking very grim. And, you know, one last thing, Waddy, that we didn't even mention. If this is how it went when it was triple CC 3-Rex, how would this have ever gone if it was a 2-base 3-Rex? Would it have just been even worse?
It would hit even sooner, right? But at least then you can afford to give up the gold, because maybe then HeRoMaRiNE takes the gold, and then, you know, at least it's 2 bases each. Whereas now, he lost the gold base, and it was triple CC behind it, so, yeah. Maybe honestly, just straight up 3-Racks would have been better for Harstem, because then you can sacrifice that base.
Yeah, and then if you kind of trade out armies, you're like, all right, it's 2 base, but you lost a lot of units, I have some momentum. This one just hit it maybe a tiny bit later, but it hit with so freaking much. You know, in the past we joked often about how much I feared the 3-Racks. These days it's actually not that bad, but it feels like there are some different versions of it, and this one obviously was different with the 3rd CC. And even though Gabe opened up Reaper, and normally if they open up Reaper into 3-Racks, they have a few less units, Gabe, his first move out was almost as large as he is, and that says a lot.
That does say a lot. As large as Gabe, well, there's a huge amount of units right now as well as we get the EMP on the battery, so it's going to have to be overcharged to do much, although this battery's in the back as well. I feel like Gabe is attacking kind of around the back of this mineral line, makes it a little bit tough kind of for him to attack in, also difficult for Harstem to figure out the defense too. I mean, this is the good stuff where you can actually push these probes away. We've got the Disruptor lurking further to the south of Harstem's army, but now it's going to get caught. It's not even going to get a chance to fire. Vikings are chasing for Colossus. They get one already, and that's an amazing start. Now we're just going to stand and fight away from any batteries and just force the Protoss player to run into you because they have to come and protect the ramp. So Harstem is in a world of trouble, as we kind of knew he would be, but HeRoMaRinE just puts himself in a good position to make the absolute worst case scenario essentially for Harstem. And again, he's not in any rush. He's just lingering and just looking for little pickups that he can find already. Slowly picking away at economy. Left a few units to just pick away at the ramp as well. And he's also dealing with the Zealot run by during all of this very, very comfortably.
Yeah, I had the sensor tower has a missile turret there as well, just in case there would be a few DTs already out on the map. There is the big Gabriel bunker, and Gabe is going to wipe the floor with this Protoss army. It's not a fair fight. GG gets called. HeRoMaRinE looking strong as ever, very convincing, taking the 1-0 lead. Is that a build order win? Was it just a poor build order choice by Harstem? I don't know. I'm a bit surprised to see Harstem kick this very important best of 5 off like that. May have just been like a post-youth special, right? And yeah, it would maybe be good against the WithMine drop, and especially like Hellion, Mine, Raven. Like all of that stuff is annoying to play against as a Protoss, but if you lose 2, 3, 4 probes over a couple of minutes while you have the gold, I can see how Harstem is loving this build. But this was just an incredibly rough scenario. He did try to stall out the movement, he did try to kite, he did try to shave off, but yeah. Maybe there is a World War D where with those 9 Stalkers, a Sentry for Guardian Shield, and a Shield Battery? Kinda, but you're gonna have to micro so damn well. I wouldn't put any money on myself. I don't know if I would trust the captain with that, but I just felt there was too much firepower in the Terran move-out.
No, it's very difficult to imagine a defense. Then even with a battery or something, like one really good force field to kind of maybe slow down the advance down the ramp. I mean, it really depends if HeRoMaRinE gets baited into like a stim or not early, and even then, you're going to have continued pressure coming your way. He can go around the other side as well, so it's hard to get a battery that covers everything. So, yeah, difficult all around as we head into Golden Aura map number 2, and Harstem looks to break in his redemption arc right now.
Perhaps Stargate opener this time around for Harstem. I feel like he is a good Stargate player. He has found a lot of success with it in the past. It is funny because Harstem obviously played against Clem already in the upper bracket of this tournament, but preparing for the 2 is just a night and day difference, right? Gabe is deadly and lethal in this matchup, we know it, but Clem is different, where Clem is just always in your face. He's so fast, he's gonna give you the feeling that you should chase his units, and then you waste APM, you mess up your build order, and on top of that, Clem can get maximum value out of every single unit that he sends across the map early on, where Gabe is a little bit more about the strong build orders and the deadly timing attack.
2 different kinds. Darren, Harstem struggling with both so far. He is the blue Protoss. Bottom right side, Shopify Rebellion one more time. His name is Harstem.
And in the top left side of Golden Aura, we're looking at the main base of the man who's still representing Mouse Sports after all these years. It's the one and only Big Gabriel, HeRoMaRinE. I think coming into this season, buddy, if you would have asked Gabe point blank, Reina playing from Korea, no Cyril, top 4 is probably the minimum that he would accept, right?
I would think so. You know, you think about the top guys in Europe, and I think if you pick top 4, a lot of people would very quickly go to Cyril, Reina, or Clem, Max Backs, and then Gabe is like the fringe player who's broken into top 4 amongst those names in the past. So, yeah, you know, I mean, I think you're right. You know, you take 2 of the stronger players, and especially the tougher matchups, because I would say also, when you ask, you know, why you put HeRoMaRinE up against those guys, he would struggle more so typically against the Zergs than he would sometimes pulling an upset against the Clem. Getting the victory over Max Packs, that seems much more doable than the Reina or the Cyril, so yeah, I'm with you. This, on paper, was a great season for Gabe in terms of what he can do, and obviously it's still going on if he can pick up a win today, although whatever he plays next round is not going to be easy if he gets there.
Definitely has been a good season. Had a nail-biting best of 5 against Lambo in the first round of the upper bracket. That one was incredibly close. I think a lot of us thought it was going to be really close getting into it, and that one absolutely delivered. I'd almost say one of the better series we've had in the playoffs when it comes to Europe. First game between these two, a little bit one-sided, but I have the feeling that the captain is just getting started, because boy, oh boy, was Harstem good yesterday against Showtime. Incredibly impressive stuff, where We often look at Showtime as one of the only guys in Europe that can make max pack sweat in PvP. Harstem looked so solid yesterday.
It's great to see as well. Harstem just constantly kind of, striking upwards a lot of the time as well. We know puts a lot of time into the YouTube channel and whatever else and streaming, but he really does, like, when he sits down, focuses up for these events, like, he still brings this level. And sometimes I would say the last half year or so, I've actually been really impressed by his play. I mean, he had a good run at Atlanta as well, so he's definitely been stepping it up as of late, which is, again, great to see. Big fan favorite. Lots of people loving to see it.
Yep, and he's still allowed to dream about potentially making it to the Esports World Cup as well. It's not going to be easy, but he's absolutely allowed to dream if he keeps on playing like this. Who will say that he can't have a great run in Dallas? Who says that he cannot turn it around today and actually already somehow get himself still seated into that winning stage? Gabe has Marines on the way and a Cyclone, so Gabe is going to switch it up a little bit. Reaper into Marines into Cyclone, command center being built on the low ground. Harstem once more, back-to-back games, opening up with the Twilight Council. How much has Harstem seen? He's seen the factory, so he should be kind of ready. I always think, what if you kind of feel that some aggression is coming, why don't you make life a bit easier on yourself as a Protoss? Get an early battery. But the pro gamers, the absolute best Protoss players out there, they often feel they cannot just blindly build batteries. In other scenarios, they feel like that slows them down too much, so they don't want to do it. But you do play a dangerous game, because there are many games where a shield battery makes your life very easy, and not having it, one mistake, and the entire game can fall apart.
That's very true. It's that kind of level of greed that's not necessarily as much greed as just trying to get the absolute best start that you can. As we are going to see the Woodermine Marine drop heading to the main. The Stalkers are nearby. We're actually just going to unload to the low ground where we can maybe sit back and pick away the pylon. Or now turn it towards the natural as well. And there is no battery, as you mentioned, so let's see what we can do.
Yeah, it's a lot of Protoss units though, right? 2 adapts, they may not be mega useful, but they're still tanky, and they deal good damage against Marines. And the Stalker count is high enough. Good job there by Harstem as well, bringing the probe to the front, hoping that the Withermine would fire, and perhaps a tiny error on the side of Gabe. I mean, this is the critical casting in the year 2024. Perhaps Gabe could have unburrowed that mine, perhaps Gabe could have gone for the retarget. We can think of a few Terrans that absolutely would have done it there. So Harstem survives this without any issues at all and says this is why you don't build a battery. You just build units and you're more than fine. Needs to be careful that he doesn't get too carried away here, but Blink is done worry. Say this is a fantastic start for the man of the Rebellion.
Yeah, great deflect on the startup, and now just getting across the map, not going overly committed, just wants to see if he can get a couple units, which he did. As now we have obviously the Cyclones begin to lock on, so time to just blink out. Once again retreat away. These adepts are likely going to end up caught. The Stalkers come back in to try and protect, but now we lose the Stalker, and that's been the ugliest part of Harstem's game so far.
Yep, it almost seems that the Adepts shouldn't have even been here, because the Adepts, they move slower, so then you feel like you have to turn around to save them anyway. But now we lost the Stalker. The unit that does actually matter, while the Adepts wouldn't have mattered that much at all. Defense in the main base though against the Viking is excellent. So Gabe cannot do one of these trademark Gabe things where he pushes in the third and he has a tiny unit running into your natural or main. A bit out of sync perhaps, maybe that's a little bit of pressure as well that Gabe is feeling. I mean, just felt that the initial move out in the natural didn't work out at all. To lose a Viking like that when there is nothing else going on seems a little bit sloppy.
Unnecessary time for it to just kind of go in, give Harstem full chance to kind of pay attention to it and deal with it. As we do see HeRoMaRinE is still going with this push over here. He will siege the tank, and he is going to get himself up this ramp to start hitting this third base. The tank is far enough back that it will only really defend against units coming forwards. We do have a reinforcing tank coming across the map as well. As we actually have these Adepts going to threaten the shade on top, and that's going to be the unsiege of the tank, which is smart because otherwise you would have friendly fired. He uses this as a chance to reposition, and we are sat here without a battery on this base. Order turret comes down as we are going to get ready for the damage to come through. The extra tank showing up, but will not be sieged, but look at the splash on those Stalkers. They had to blink in as well, so no blinking out. That means they've taken a bunch of damage here. Raven taking a few shots, not dead yet. The new tank going to get blinked on top of, gets one Stalker at least. Harstem is on his way to clearing this up, but it's been an extremely expensive trade, and that Nexus is hurting for the future as well.
Yep, and we're not done yet, right? Gabe knows a few of these Stalkers are mega low in HP, and he gets at least one of them. No, Harstem should not lose anymore. If the Marines pay attention here, Harstem is in danger of losing at least another one, and the Marines will probably get one more if they turn around, go for the left one. That's exactly what Gabe does. Close fight, gets another one. Are you joking? Yeah, it's a hold, but it's one of these classical, it's a hold, but at what cost? I think Gabe did a lot of things right there. Harstem had a cool move where he split off that Zealot on the top left, And he's like, all right, if the Zealot can just absorb one tank shot, I can blink forward. But Gabe kind of knew it was coming, so he dropped that auto turret very quickly. And the Marine count, like Marines without stim, +1 combat shield, we don't think much of them. But if you got 10 of them just standing there point blank on top of Stalkers, it actually starts adding up real quick.
So it's going to charge through as we're going to try and break this. A stim on the bio means that we can just get rid of so much quickly. The Prism will get killed, which means no warping potential. And for the handful of SCVs lost, we just lost so many units here as Harstem, and this Immortal does not have any way out. It's flight home, and the Prism obviously cancelled when that Prism got shot down. We even have the Raven on the other side, adding some damage to undo some of the SCV losses here for HeRoMaRinE. And he is just going to once again have a comfortable hold, sit on 3 bases, and just going to keep on building up an army where Harstem just feels stuck on a low gateway unit count, and yet it's only gateway units. And if you're playing only gate units, you kind of want to be swarming, right? You want to have way too many for the Terran to deal with. That's just not the case right now for Harstem, so he's in a bit of trouble. Even if the numbers are fairly even, I think HeRoMaRinE definitely has an edge on the back of all this.
It almost felt that Harstem thought there's no way Stim is ready there, right? Because he didn't see Stim in the previous fight. I felt like that was a very uncharacteristic attack for Harstem, especially because he's going up to 4 bases. And sure, he took some damage, but that felt a little bit reckless, and it makes perfect sense if Stim isn't ready, because then those Marines would have a very tough time dealing with Zealots as War Prism number 2 goes down as well. And this one had 3 Zealots inside of it, so things go from good to absolutely fantastic for Big Gabe. And this is starting to turn into a very dire, grim best of 5 for Harstem, who's now going to open things up with a Disruptor. And I kind of like it, Wadi, and I think you're with me. This is one of these, we need something special, because a single Colossus without extended thermal lens is probably not going to cut it anymore. So why don't we try to get some balls, force out some stims, maybe find a great connection, and hope that we can find our way back into this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. As we actually do lose the medevac that was lifting up the units there. Unfortunately, now the force fields work against those Zealots. This is why you need the Disruptor. You just need something with a little bit of bang to try and get rid of this Bioforce and to give you the momentum to really push through. The Stalkers do not quite... Oh, they do get the medevac that's full. That's going to turn this into a much better defense. And Harstem really taking advantage of the medevacs as they lifted. That is where HeRoMaRinE lost the majority of units during this.
Yeah, Gabe lost 2 medevacs that were pretty much full of bio. Tried to go for the hot pickup in the middle of the fight. Excellent target fire by Harstem, and obviously towards the tail end of that fight, getting that second medevac as well. Yeah, where this game looked very grim for Harstem, all of a sudden it kind of feels that the clouds are disappearing, the sunbeams are starting to rain down upon him, and it's like, hey, it's all right, it becomes playable. I'm sure that he's still not very happy, because nobody's ever happy that you lost 2 War Prisms in a 10-minute game, especially the second one with 3 Zealots inside of it at home. Only a single observer, not a crazy amount of map vision yet. Harstem is not flying, but hey, he just went from being almost dead to being completely back into this game.
Much more playable now with some splash damage out. Upgrades continue through for him, and his opponent is making, I mean, you see Gabe just making a lot of Vikings, but actually Harstem is sticking to Disruptor production, so those Vikings are not going to be immediately super useful, apart from maybe shooting down a Prism or so, which is not typically what you build a chunk of Vikings for. So as Harstem keeps adding on Disruptors, some potential there, and he comes across the map with an army supply lead. Obviously, one good Disruptor shot right now could open the door for him to even be, more aggressive into this. That's what he's going to hunt for, but HeRoMaRinE is smartly backing away. The bunker on that third will help him hold the position. But of course, Harstem's in no rush to do anything, because HeRoMaRiNE's only just now floating the 4th base across. Harstem is building his 5th. It's just now finishing. He's going to take this time to keep attacking. Dark Shrine on the way. Better harassment for later in this game. I like all the moves and ideas that Harstem's having at the moment.
Yep, there is a Widowmine there though that is going to get a good connection, and not a single Nova is really connected yet. I like it as well, but I do think that Harstem needs to be careful that he doesn't stick around a little bit too long, because there is that sensor tower that's going to keep track of his movement. The ghost count is decent, and HeRoMaRinE is getting pretty close to getting +2 attack. A single EMP landing on a few of those Disruptors, Marauder stimming forward, and what looks like a great Protoss army can all of a sudden be a bit of an underwhelming Protoss army, but so far, so good. The captain continues to dance, and I don't think he's really missing a lot of beats.
He's doing a great job of kind of fighting the left side, while the right side of the Terran army can't join in because of the Disruptor zone. Liberators are going to be a different challenge, though. He's actually going to blink in to get rid of the 2 of them. He's going to decide to stick around here just a little bit longer still. I'm with you. It's a fragile Protoss army. You eat a couple of bad EMPs, you get jumped on, your first Disruptor shot gets denied too quickly, and the Terran is just going to be all on top of this Protoss force. So you do have to walk the line very, very carefully. I think that's what Harstem is maybe figuring a little bit. He's about to add DTs in those. That harassment's only going to get better for himself. Disruptor's clipping the edges. Can he find more than that as he still tries to find a way? And now from the right-hand side, I imagine we're going to see Disruptor, a DT over to the left as that Disruptor nearly hit, but it did get killed in time.
Yeah, 6 snipe actually by Gabe. You mentioned the bunker earlier, and I loved it because that was a really good bunker by HeRoMaRinE. Not just because there wasn't that much surface area on it, but also because Harstem's army was not great at first in sniping a bunker. Now this game is about to get absolutely bananas. This one Nova has a lot of potential and will connect with a couple of these goals. HeRoMaRinE has picked up so many units that he's just flying to the other side of the map, but that means that Harstem, with a ridiculous amount of Protoss units, gets on top of the third. That one has gone down. Now I wonder though, what are we going to recall on Harstem's side? Will he recall at all? Or we're just going to defend with DTs and Zealots? Does Gabe not have any scans? What's happening?
Well, he did just lose one orbital, so that means he's only got 2 scanners available at a time, potentially. We're going to lose this Nexus. DT is continuing to do damage, and HeRoMaRinE for now is going to lift up against it, so this is working out. Disruptors here trying to get connections, and they find a ton of ghosts. Harstem continuing to get a lot done. And man, since he turned this game around with that defense, he has really just been on the other side and just keeping it going. These last few units on the offense now from HeRoMaRinE, they've got to put some work in, and they are doing so. They're getting rid of the DTs. The Zealots are not doing great defensively. I mean, this right now is continuing to be a problem for Harstem, and he's losing a lot to just this drop.
Yep, but this drop was obviously a big commitment as well, and especially after losing the third base, HeRoMaRinE is going to have a hard time rebuilding those units, as Harstem does bleed out a Disruptor, but he fires another one, and that one actually connects with a couple of Ghosts and Marauders. I mean, these trades should always be good, as long as he can eventually clean up those units in the bottom side of the map that have stimmed forward and has somehow been able to get another Disruptor. But a Colossus, with or without extended thermal lens, is going to do very good stuff. Disruptors left behind in the center of the map, body by themselves. Uh-oh.
No, that's not it, as we're going to lose each and every one. Not a single shot connecting. We're going to target fire the one that still has a shot remaining. And now Harstem is bleeding out. This drop in the bottom right has been such a distraction, just such a disruption. HeRoMaRinE has brought the supplies back to being even now. He's got a sizable army supply lead, and he is going to fight in the center. Just kite back from those Zealots. Once those Zealots are down, man, this army is not that strong, but the Stalkers blink. They get rid of some medevacs, and HeRoMaRinE will have to back it up, as we do see still these units here trying to find extra. Harstem has the gold in the corner, by the way, and that may become very soon a real kind of just need, a necessity for him to be able to keep on mining in this game, as Harstem now jumping on this fight in the center. That Colossus is getting so many shots.
Yep, HeRoMaRinE thought for a split second to bring those buying units over to surround that Protoss army, but he just didn't have enough anymore. And this single Colossus with 3-3 upgrades, or well, soon to have 3-3, without extended turbulence, was a real game changer. If that Colossus was just another Disruptor, I'm actually really worried that Harstem just never properly deals with that drop, and then this game could have still slipped away from him. Now, it's just close. Gabriel has floated over his main, so this is not a brand new fourth base for Gabe. No, it's just a 3-base setup that he already had. But main bases are mined out anyway, so that's not too bad. But you already mentioned that gold. Harstem enjoying the rich boy Protoss life with that gold in the bottom left side. And this game has been pretty damn hectic and intense ever since that first move out. HeRoMaRinE has not been thinking about it. Probably at one point thought, hey, I feel like I should almost have you now after killing all those Disruptors. Why do you still have so much? But he hasn't checked for it yet. And I mean, that base Wadi is actually wide open, right? No cannons, no batteries there, nothing. But Harstem is getting away with it.
One single drop would do so much over there. And at this crucial moment where at some point was some of the final mining remaining for Harstem, as HeRoMaRinE jumps onto this location, EMPs the battery, but overcharge is available. We blink in, but that's a Widow Mine that can get a shot off on Stalkers. We're going to go for the lift up, warping across the map though, so HeRoMaRinE has to deal with that. And Harstem is going to come chasing, and HeRoMaRinE just says, no, this is too much. Taps out the GG, and Harstem ties our series up.
Man, what a way for Harstem to turn all of that around. That fight on the right side obviously had a disastrous counterattack where he just ran in with those Zealot Stalkers. Immortal lost the War Prism, loses his second War Prism. And I think at that point his heart probably sank into his chest and he's like, yeah, I know where these games go. But he still went for it, went for a couple of Disruptors, but it was without the Disruptors that he just pulled off a great hold. A few force fields, a nice forward blink, and gutting down not one, but two medevacs full of units. I think that was a real turning point in this game.
Yeah, that really gave Harstem the step back into the game, and of course, from that point on, we were able to really see Harstem just stay on the offensive, stay aggressive, and he really made sure to expand behind it. It was the speed of the expansions he was able to get up. Then in the end probably saved him because the fact he was able to still mine off the gold when we saw a couple of bases trading out, that became a big factor in the end as well. So, all that said, we get to 1-1, and we are going to have a bit of a back and forth series on our hands after HeRoMaRinE opened super convincingly, looked great at the start of game 2, Harstem brings it back, and yeah, they are going to fight to the bitter end for this, this chance to get a seed into the offline finals.
It's really fun to watch Harstem and HeRoMaRinE duke it out this deep into the tournament with a lot of money on the line and an incredibly important top 4 ticket. Because these two are a good match for each other, right? I feel like they're both amazing, but at different things. It just often creates for something nice, something magical. And I was scared. For a split second, I was like, please not. Don't let this be a one-sided trio. Because on any given day, we know that Harstem and HeRoMaRinE can have a banger of a best of 5. And I'm starting to believe, Wadi, that we are getting what we excited for.
Alright, well, Amphion's up next. I love this map. It's fun, it's different. The expansion patterns are kind of a bit all over the place as well. Lots of potential for weirder things. Lots of potential for HeRoMaRinE to maybe just find and expose some openings and hit hard, because that's what he does best sometimes. As we head into Amphion. In the bottom left-hand side, we will be starting off with the red Terran player. Of course, he's from Mouse. It is HeRoMaRinE.
And in the top left side, we are looking at the main base of the captain, hailing from the Netherlands, representing the Shopify Rebellion. This is Harstem. Gotta feel so good when you're already down 0-1 after a bit of a disastrous game on Pulse Youth. Then in game 2, at first you're like, yeah, it's okay, but then you feel like whatever you just fought for, you threw it all away with a silly counterattack that didn't really make too much sense, because obviously Harstem was going up to 4 bases as well. You lose your second prism. I mean, at that point, I'd be leaning back in my chair and be like, this is going to be one of these days. To then suddenly find yourself, hey, we're all tied up, 1-1, not even 10 minutes later. That's gotta give you some wings if you're Harstem.
It's definitely a momentum and a confidence boost, right? Because you go down 0-2 and you barely got to play the game, it feels bad. You get to 1-1 and you fought your way back into it. Your opponent messed up and made the mistakes and you capitalized. That feels so good. And that's why you stay in these games, right? To see if your opponent makes the mistakes, see if you can force the mistakes. That's what you've got to be able to do to bring it back sometimes. That's what Harstem did. And he's dropping his Nexus down in this game 3 with it all leveled out and everything to play for.
Yeah, a night and day difference. 0-2 with 2 bad games. At that point, you may as well throw in the towel, but a 1-1 and a very hard-fought game 2 victory where you knew you were in a bit of trouble. Nothing feels better than that. Excellent start to our best of 5 here. Kind of what we hope for once we enter the top 6 of the European region. Obviously, a different season this time around without Zero, and Raider is still with us, even though I'm going to see him soon. He's going to play in the lower bracket against Clem. That's not going to be easy. But we'll talk about it in the near future. I think overall a sexy top 6. Maybe not ultra surprising, even though you can always fill in, I think, a Showtime, a Lambo as well, Elaser, Skillers. Like, these are all players that if they would have made it into the top 6, I don't think you, I, or anyone would have been shocked. But looking at the 6 players that are remaining, perhaps Harstem is the biggest surprise, but a very pleasant one.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him have runs in Europe before, but you're right. I mean, at the start of the season, I think he's not a name you'd immediately put top 6. But we know, on a good run, on a good, bracket, he can definitely do it. And, he's fought his heart out to be here, 3-2, 3-2 in the last couple of matches. Reaper goes down for Gabe, so he's going to be missing out. He's going triple CC against a Stargate this time for Harstem.
Yep, did scout it, so I guess Gabe probably molding a little, losing that Reaper, but at least he got what he built the Reaper for in the first place, and that is confirming the tech of his opponent. Now, Gabriel likes triple CC against Stargate. We've seen him do this quite a few times, especially deep in tournaments when the stakes are high. If he is pretty convinced he goes up against the Stargate, especially if it's a Phoenix player that likes to keep his Phoenixes at home. I mean, there's no better feeling for a Terran player than a 2-base Protoss that's keeping the Phoenixes at home. So Harstem needs to be careful here, by the way. You don't want to bleed out too many units. Gets a Marine, is very close to getting the second, but I think that's it. If Harstem keeps multiple Phoenix at home, it's going to be fantastic for Gabe. Then again, should you really as a Protoss, if your Stargate already got scouted, how likely is it that they just blindly pick up 3 mines and fly to your side of the map?
Yeah, probably pretty unlikely, so then you may as well get the Phoenix across the map. You're not revealing anything, you're not looking to defend anything, because it would make no sense for anything to be coming your way as you insinuate, and so, yeah, we have this Phoenix coming in that's going to get the full scout up, so now Harstem knows what he's up against, and he can make his game plan based around the fact that, hey, you have a faster third. So now how does Harstem approach this? What would you like to see Harstem do, considering he's continuing to build Phoenix? What sort of time are we looking at taking? A third? Is it just an ASAP situation?
Yeah, It's a little bit scary, but I actually think that's the first thing you do. You just go up to 3 bases immediately, then you get the Robo, then you get the Robo Bay. It's a little bit scary. There might be one moment where if Gabe builds nothing but Marines and he does make a move out that technically doesn't make too much sense, that you're gonna get scared as a Protoss player. But if you don't do anything, if you stay on 2 bases for too long, then HeRoMaRinE is just going to have way too many units in the near future, as that was a big bad loss for Harstem. May not seem that big of a deal, single Phoenix, but you know it, Waddy. The Phoenixes, they grow stronger in numbers, in strength. Losing one of them this early, it just sucks. Especially because Harstem is not the kind of guy that really loves building Phoenix forever. He's gonna build 4, 5, 6. That's kind of it. Losing one this early just means that the next 3 have a much harder time finding damage because you have less DPS, right? So now you're gonna get less pickups, and the entire investment just becomes a lot weaker immediately.
Yeah, every less Phoenix is just, like you say, less picks.
Oh, look at this supply block, by the way, Waddy. Sorry to interrupt you there, but that is a big one. It's really big on Harstem's side. Oh.
Basically waiting for the Nexus to finish to free him up from that, which is not at a great time either. Sim and Compact going to be done, and we have got units moving across the map, so it's a horrible time to not be able to build anything, missing warping cycles. Finally 2 pylon start, but and there's not a lot of it here.
Gabe actually supply blocked as well for a while. I think he just used call down for depot. That is one way to get out of it. HeRoMaRinE is going to see if this is an army that he can fight. The Zealots do not have charge. What we do have is battery overcharge on the side of Harstem. Gabriel stimming past all these units. And you know what? The slow gateway units, if they are able to get on top of Marines, if the Marines are basically running through them, yeah, they're actually still kind of good. So even though both players perhaps crumbling a little bit under the pressure, I mean, this is such a big stage, such an important match. They've both made a few beauty arrows up to this point. This worked out really well for Harstem. Not the end of the world for Gabe, though, as Marines are cheap, and he's going to be able to make so many of them with that triple orbital, but a couple of mistakes from both sides.
Yeah, that was, he really believed he could get up there, but the Phoenix came back at such a great time, too, lifting up a bunch of those Marines and just removing the final touches of DPS. It's going to become a pretty aggressive game, both expanding to the triangle to the left-hand side, so we've got a very short kind of run distance on ground from base to base on third bases. That's going to be very intriguing, and of course, if you have to put a lot of attention defending the left side of the map, that does open the right side for run-bys into the natural, or drops into the natural as well, so things to be watching for as the game develops deeper here on Amphion for our third map of the series.
And what I'm incredibly worried for from Harstem's side is that they have expanded both on the left side, as you mentioned, so they're incredibly close to each other. It's very hard for Zealots to get a wraparound here, right? Because there are rocks. You basically are just staring down a big Terran army. And I feel like that's not normally where Zealots with charge shine. It's pretty shocking that the Zealots still don't have charge, as Gabriel just runs up this ramp, clearly something that Harstem did not expect. Can't blame him, because if the Phoenixes were here, this wouldn't have been all that hot of a move by Gabe. But yeah, maybe Gabe just banked on the fact that they weren't there. These slow Zealots, they have been so underwhelming. HeRoMaRinE is taking the best weird raid fight that I've seen in a while. 8 minutes in, just walks up that ramp with only 2 medevacs full of units, or well, they were underneath their medevacs. But that was an excellent trade for Big Gabe.
That was absolutely spot on. I mean, you get so many of the units there. You reset the Zealot count, you get the Sentry, and the Phoenix have to come back and finally use all of their energy to basically get a defense. It's different if you use all the Phoenix energy and, hey, you didn't lose much of your army because the Phoenix helped you early. But using the Phoenix energy just to kind of scrap together a defense, now you get, what, a lift on a single mule, which is probably the best thing you could have found here, but it does feel like HeRoMaRinE gains some momentum from this. And his army looking good, his army looking strong. Widowmine's going to fire, and kaboom, 2 more Phoenix go down. Well, the last couple of those may as well just be paperweights now. They're not going to be adding much at all.
Nope, Harstem has picked up 4 Zealots in a Warp Prism, and he's going to try to send to the other side of the map. And that's kind of what you need to do when you play Phoenix Zealot, right? It needs to be chaos. Zealots need to be everywhere, running into SCV mineral lines, but it's just not going to happen. Gabriel already has a full wall-off, or an almost full wall-off in his natural. He's got a safety bunker. Harstem is just counting down the seconds until we can finally get a Colossus or 2 out. But it feels that every second right now takes a century. As the Warp Prism did dive into the natural, that's good. It's going to buy him a tiny bit of time. But Harstem needs more than a tiny bit of time. Gabe doesn't even care, with no regard for Protoss defenses at all. He's going to stim up this ramp one more time. Great target firing with the Widowmines. And that will be all zeroed. GG. HeRoMaRinE takes the 2-1 lead in a bit of a sloppy game on the side of the captain mostly. That supply block was just too big, and because of that supply block, I felt everything else was late. if you play Phoenix Zealot charge, you can have charge very quickly, Wadi. This charge was damn late, man. It was so late that I feel like sometimes you play Phoenix Colossus, you have charge around this time.
No, I mean, this should not have been like a charge that comes in then. I mean, we were waiting an eternity for those Zealots to kind of like get their legs. Like, okay, the first time them not having them, sure, but all the times after, absolutely does not make sense. I think you're right. Everything got thrown a little bit off in terms of the timings. Definitely made it a little bit tougher for Harstem, and now he faces, well, knockout here in the European bracket. As he's down 1-2, he's going to have to play to tie this up right now as we get into Game 4 in Oceanborn.
I think it's a tough build order for Harstem for sure. If you open up with Adept and Phoenix and you see that you're going up against Triple CC and a lot of basic firepower. I don't hate the call playing Phoenix Zealot, quick 3 base. I think expanding on the left though made it awkward because Phoenixes and Zealots are incredibly quick. So you kind of want to take that mobility to your own advantage and make it a very hectic game. A little battle here, a little battle there. And then the Phoenixes just rain the skies and they make sure that Gabe can't move anywhere without, Protoss being all over it. That just wasn't really it, right? It was kind of just two armies staring at each other. That's always going to favor the Terran. By the time that Harstem thought of like going for some War Prism drops or a Zealot run by, kind of felt that the writing was already on the wall. Gabe had pretty strange attacks, but hey, this is maybe that confidence that we were alluding to in Game 1. If Gabe is feeling confident, he makes certain moves that I don't think he makes in other series. And somehow he turns it into something.
You might be onto something as we dive into game number 4. In the bottom right-hand corner, we are going to be with the blue Protoss player from the Shopify Rebellion, of course, looking to bring it back and to take us to Game 5, Harstem.
And in the top left side, we are looking at the main base of the man who's found a lot of success with Triple CC opening so far. Are we going to see it one more time, or will this be mega aggressive Gabriel? Representing Mouse Sports, it's HeRoMaRinE. Sending out an SCV early, by the way. Gabe, not much of a proxy Rexer in my mind, Wadi, but look at what the lower bracket of the ESL Masters Regionals does to even the most honest macro boys.
Cheeky little proxy Rex, definitely unexpected. Maybe something he can abuse for the fact that this is just something he does not do very often at all. So, opportunity here up 2-1, throw a bit of a spanner in the works and just try and mess Harstem up from the early stages. And obviously if Harstem gets thrown off, we've definitely kind of seen elements of when Harstem gets thrown off, how it all comes crashing down around him in the previous games. So, if this happens even earlier, could be brutal. There is a probe coming across the map. That will see the lack of a barracks at some point here. So there is going to be some info for Harstem to work with, and you can prep a little bit for the incoming Reaper.
I'm just wondering if there's a world where Gabe goes like for an all-out one base all-in. Because Gabe just very, very, very rarely proxies. And it's also a bit of a weird proxy, right? It's not that close to Harstem's main. What are we going to do with this SCV? No factory has been built yet at home. He's mining a lot of gas. Could it be? Is Gabriel just showing us an all-out one base all-in? Wadi, he never does this.
Last time he did this was maybe at a Katowice if he did proxy the factory, but it does go at home. I think there was one Katowice he did it against like Trap and Zest a couple of years ago, but you're right, it's definitely not something he brings out on the everyday. But you're right, it is now just a factory back at home, so a little bit more normal, a bit more standard. Bunker goes up on this natural, it's just going to try and be annoying. It's a Stalker on the way out, that will take a little bit. It means that this Bunker has a lot of build time. And we're going to have, obviously, the Reaper causing trouble before then as well. Going to go after probes in the main and still waiting on that Stalker to show up. As we drop a grenade down, we are going to try and work our way through some of these probes.
Yeah, so far, excellent probe micro, though. And now this Reaper could actually be stuck. I think the Stalkers might be able to get the guaranteed kill. Probe could help out. Oh, no! The Stalker was blocked by the probe. I actually felt that should have been a dead Reaper, Wadi. With the amount of damage it already took, the positioning of the Stalker above the Reaper having to walk past it. I think Harstem could have killed that Reaper there. That's a big loss. You should still be able to deal with this in the end without any mega concerns. And Stalkers obviously are better in dealing with a Bunker, an SCV than a Depths are. But this is annoying, uncomfortable, and it's absolutely going to slow the men from the Rebellion down for a little while.
Oh yes, it is. A couple of Stalkers continuing through the Bunker. Just able to be repaired for a bit. We do get shots on the SCV now. Comes back in, obviously battery energy being drained as well. And that's such an awkward battery because this is not even a battery which is super useful later on because it's, right up on this high ground. it's going to be very tough to make use of that later, whereas usually the battery, at least it's there to help you further down the line, and this SCV still dodging. We are on the point of, yeah, Nelly chasing down these Stalkers. Battery gets a bit of energy back, but yeah, this is just frustrating. 3 probes can't mine right now, and HeRoMaRinE is having a fantastic time. Stalker getting low again, and we finally get the SCV, so that will be the end of this bunker soon, but we have to retreat one more time before that happens. We get energy back from the battery, and that's just about enough to give the Stalker a little bit of life. We will not lose the Stalker, but man, it got dangerously close, and the fact it took this long to deal with this, very, very problematic for Harstem. Blink just now starting.
Yep, had a lot of probes just sitting on the left side there. He was building them at least, not that he stopped building workers. It's a crazy amount of Widow Mines, you don't really see that very often anymore. A quad Widow Mine following up. So Reaper Rush with a bunker in the natural of the Protoss into a 4 Widow Mine drop. Legitimately, I think the first time I see a 4 Widow Mine drop ever since they changed the mines VOD. Just completely fallen out of fashion, something we saw all the time a while ago. Kind of like it. A couple of the Stalkers are low on HP, so you need to be careful as well with the splash damage. I mean, Harstem was so busy dealing with this, cleaning it up, that he hasn't scouted in forever what the follow-up is. Blink is a tiny bit later. Here comes that medevac, and let's see, and we're gonna get at least, that's a lot of mines. Oh, one of the mine shots has crazy potential. Are you kidding me? Oh no, Waddy, we may have to take another look at the Widow Mine. What was that?
That was just absolutely disgusting. Just comes in, fires from afar, and 14 probes fell in an instant as Harstem was just running out. But I thought maybe the second or third mine would be like the cheeky pickups, you know, with the way you position them, but first mine connects, gets all the probes, and this series has gone back into being a full-on disaster for Harstem.
Who's gonna drop the Dark Shrine immediately, and this is the good old when behind gold Dark Shrine if I've ever seen one. But Big Gabe already has the Raven out. That was perhaps the Widow Mine shot that will be heard around the streets of Köln, Deutschland tonight, as it seems inevitable at this point that Gabe is gonna make his way into the top 4 of the Europe Regionals once more. Still gonna have to make a couple of correct clicks to get there, but a start that great. First, the initial start was good with the Reapers and the bunker, but a Widow Mine shot killing 14 probes. That is incredibly brutal for the captain.
Yeah, this is well, this is just a tough time. I mean, you can't really do much from here. Your economy is terrible. You really have to rely on these DTs finding something for you. We're going to blink to try and get a siege tank, and we do get it. That's something. Do we lose Stalkers on the end? We lose one as it splits away to miss the splash damage at least, but even that doesn't feel great considering the circumstances. As again, Dark Shrine coming up, but there's a Raven out, so it's going to be very difficult to do too much on this. This just feels tough all around.
Definitely feels very tough, but the longer it goes, the more likely it is that Harstem can find something that goes his way this game. You look at these Stalkers, maybe he snipes the Raven, maybe Big Gabriel moves the Raven in an awkward position, and the DTs can get on top of SCVs. It looked incredibly unlikely a while ago. That was really dire, but you know, the longer it goes, the more I'm like, all right, I guess it's still a very high pressure situation. It's incredibly stressful for both of these players. If Harstem can make a mistake in defending against the Widow Mines, perhaps Gabe can make a mistake defending against the DTs. Harstem does have a War Prism on the top side as well, so he's gonna wait, Waddy, until it's the perfect moment to strike.
Yeah, and he kind of has to. He has to cause complete and utter disruption with these Dark Templar. Let's be realistic. Gabe wasn't just going to let 1 or 2 DTs running in at random times sort of just be, you know, the end of him. But maybe now as units move out, the Ravens on the bottom side, this could be the opening if there ever was one for the Dark Templars to get something done. And they are going to start moving through. One to the natural, one will head to the main. The Raven's going to come into the main on the other side, so that is going to be, again, not in position to deal with DTs. As we start to drop all the turrets down, the DTs will show themselves in a moment, and this is it for Harstem. He's got to defend, he's got to get damage done. Missile turrets already building from HeRoMaRinE back at home.
It's now or never for the captain as he blinks forward, snipes the Raven though, so that means that DTs can help out a little bit defensively as well. The Nexus does go down. The DTs on the other side of the map have already killed 9 SCVs. They're going to get a few more. Widow Mines are thinking of going for it. I mean, Harstem is absolutely battling, and he's trying to still make something of his final moments here in Oceanborn. Zealot charge is 10 seconds away from finishing up, but it's just not ready in time, and I have the feeling by the time charge is done, every single Zealot has disappeared. And Stalkers alone, no matter how good the Blink Stalker micro will be here, should never be enough. However, Gabe, for now, is going to pick up these units. Maybe a tiny bit worried about War Prisms warping in more units on the other side of the map. and him just taking too much damage at home.
I think it's a fair concern, but one that he's also kind of comfortable with dealing with because, hey, he got rid of the third base. So if nothing else, 2 bases on 2 bases where the pros player does not have splash damage tech, you're pretty much fine with that as the Terran. So that's why he's very happy just to back it away here and say, you know what, it's fine. Did enough, I've got my own third CC ready to go once I feel comfortable to move that out. So let's just focus on defending and surviving. And then, you know, if I do live through the next minute or two, my economy's going to be booming. We can take advantage with another fight from it there as well. As he has not quite noticed that the army is up the right-hand side, so that is Harstem with an opportunity to maybe dive in around the back and maybe catch HeRoMaRinE off guard. Harstem needs moments like this to kind of be in this game, so let's see if he can capitalize. Let's see if he can make enough of it. I mean, HeRoMaRinE is not that far from home. The depot's raised, and now it feels like this army might just be stuck because there's just not enough Protoss.
It feels that the Terran army is going to be a lot stronger than the Protoss army here in every single situation. The Zealots get taken care of with a few of the Marines that just hopped out of these barracks. A tank helping out defensively as well. HeRoMaRinE sitting pretty on triple CC. 41 SCVs against 46 probes. That may not be the best thing, but 3 base against 2 is good enough. HeRoMaRinE makes it into the top 4 of the ESL Masters Europe Spring Regionals. A massive victory for him. Top 4 once more. We're going to see Big Gabe in Dallas.
Yeah, he is going to get to move on through. He is going to be into Dallas and obviously that winners stage there, which is a huge deal. We talk about it when we get to that offline event, but just to emphasize, like, the amount of rounds you get to skip in, like, the lower bracket or the qualification, the open stages is huge. Paid trip as well is obviously a fantastic deal. That's obviously lovely stuff as HeRoMaRinE, as you mentioned, does move on through. And we'll actually see him again later today, Roddy, because he'll get to play against the winner of Clem versus Rhino in a couple of series times. So, you know, HeRoMaRinE moves through, books himself in, and now it's got a little bit of time to focus.